Now let us look at the writing strategies for a technical writing, specifically a research paper. The writing strategy requires thoughtful analysis of three fundamental elements. These include the readerships, scopes, purpose, and the objectives. For the readership, you need to provide appropriate levels of detail so that all intended readers can understand. These include those with or without the prior knowledge. That means your technical writing should theoretically be standalone without requiring any requisite in terms of the prior knowledge before the readers start reading your papers. You have to make the information as effectively delivered as possible, explained in the simplified and comprehensible manner, and provide adequate information for the readers to understand your content. To ensure the readerships of the paper, this requires skills and practices, especially for us as the non-native English speakers. We always receive comment by the reviewers stating that our English is very poor, and because of that, our submissions of the manuscript were rejected. Knowing that your English is not up to the standard, since that you do not have English teachers with you, then you go and search for some grammar checking tools, trying to rectify your English. And then you realize that even though you have rectified all the errors highlighted by the grammar checking tools, you will still receive the comments by the native English speaker, your English is still very poor. I believe one of the reasons that leads to such a comment, it will be due to the readership of your paper, where the way that you write the sentences is a bit awkward to the native English speaker, even though it is grammatically correct. This may include the sequence how you discharge the informations, minimizing the efforts and hassles that they have to go through in order to understand your meanings or message. You will need to construct the understanding of the reader slowly, plan the sequence of the informations being discharged, demonstrate the connectivity between the statements and the paragraphs. The informations are well organized. Use the specific terms so that the readers are not confused and not requiring them to guess who is who, which is which, what is what. The point here I would like to make is that the readership and the grammar is two different things. Readership refers to how easily the readers can get your message, whether the reading is smooth without much interference, whether the understanding of the reader is affected by unclear references of the subjects or the objects, and so on and so forth. As for the grammar, it represents the structures of the sentence, whether it is appropriately constructed, whether it is complete, whether the punctuations are appropriately placed, whether there are any errors in terms of the subject-verbs agreements, problems with the singular and plural nouns, and so on and so forth. Therefore, a good technical writing should be good in both grammar and the readerships. This is about the readerships. The next fundamental element of writing strategy, it will be the scopes. Your scope needs to be well defined. There should be a boundary of what needs to be discussed at suitable amount of detail considering the followings, such as the numbers of ideas, experiments and study, the depth of writing, and the level of detail. The scope needs to be clear-cut so that the readers have an idea in terms of the applicable conditions, and to eliminate the unrealistic expectations beyond your scope of the study. Next, it will be the purpose and the objectives. You need to be clear that what is the intentions and the outcome of the writing. Always keep this in mind while writing. You may need to remind the reader also while they are reading. This is so that you and the readers are on the same tone, communicating in the same wavelength. Next, we look into the characteristics of good writing as listed here. A good writing involves careful choice of the word. It is not about how many vocabulary that you are able to produce. In fact, it is about the accuracy of the usage of the word. This is not just limited to the technical jargons. Those words you know that you need to use them in the proper definitions. Also, the careful choice of word also refers to the terms that demonstrate the degree of intensity or levels of something, giving the reader an extra informations in a more refined manner regarding something that you would like to express. For example, there is an explicit difference in terms of the magnitude of the intensity between the word slightly and drastically. Slightly means that it is a little bit more or less, while drastically normally represent a higher degree of magnitude, which is more significant by nature. Therefore, careful choice of words constitute two parts: proper usage of the terminology by their right definitions, and adequately represent the level of intensity by using the right words. Next, a good writing involves useful information about the chosen subject. You should be straight to the point, not to give redundant or meaningless sentences that can confuse or distract the readers. You will expect a high concentrations of the informations. All of them need to be useful and meaningful, and eliminate those which is irrelevant. Next, you need to be mindful of the targeted readerships. You need to have some prior ideas. Who are your readers? Are they your fellow researchers, or the industrial practitioners, or just the general public? You might need to know also their levels of expertise and competency, whether your targets are those professors who are very experienced with the research, or those students who are still struggling, seeking for directions. Then your focus and the emphasis will differ. If your targeted audience that you expect them to have basic or limited understanding on the subject, then you might need to write your technical writing in a more layman term, patiently explain the heads and tails of the subject that you are discussing. In contrary, if you are dealing with those which is highly experienced, you will not treat them as the students. In fact, you would like to demonstrate yourself with higher levels of technical insights so that they can gain the message out of your technical writings. Of course, a good writing involves evidence to support your data. You cannot just simply state your opinion without proper justifications, and whichever you claim need to be adequately proven. You can consider it as an argument or a persuasion to a group of peoples who are always suspicious, having the critical thinking skill in place. In order to convince this kind of people, you know that this kind of peoples are well trained with critical thinking. It should be well justified. Also, the purpose and the objectives are clearly stated in the good writings. This is to keep the reader focused on the ultimate message or the intentions of the technical writing. There is one more thing that you need to know. The text and the sentence throughout the papers, not all of them are at the same equal level of significance. This is due to the human nature, or you can say that is the limitations of the human to stay focused and interested for a long period of time, especially reading the technical writings, which is filled with facts and figures and technical specifications. We have difficulties to memorize all these numbers. The durations that we can stay focused will significantly reduced. Therefore, you will need to properly plan your discharge of the informations, putting the significant informations in the right place so that they will not miss that in the case that they miss their patience or lost their concentrations during the readings. This leads to our next point here, where the starting paragraph and the first sentence should be used for the most essential point. If you would like the readers to remember certain points, most likely you will put them in front, in the first paragraph, or in the first sentence of each paragraph. That is the meaning of straight to the point. And the following sentences, it will be to complement the first sentences in terms of the elaborations, justifications, evidence, and so on and so forth. Some readers might not going to read the text one by one, but there is a high chance that they will read the first paragraph and the first sentence. Therefore, we are putting your essential point at these places to ensure they don't miss that. Next, you should avoid statements reflecting the opinions rather than objectivity and specific remarks and not generalizations. You can post your opinion in fact, but it needs to be professionally done in the justified manner, which is objective, specific, accurate, and rigorously stated. It cannot merely opinions without further justifications. If you follow these rules, you should be able to produce good technical writings. This increases the confidence of the readers to the content and the claim made by you, and the readers will be easier in terms of accepting your points instead of being suspicious and tends to challenge your points and discussions.